Tonight, inflation at a two-year low, the share market at a record high and a possible rate cut by May. A citizen's arrest after a woman is attacked with a paint scraper on a Randwick street. Harbour shark attack victim Lauren O'Neill thanks neighbours for saving her life and surgeons for saving her leg. Israeli commandos disguised as doctors and patients raid a hospital. Anzac outrage. The Premier steps in to stop a rock concert near CBD commemorations. Plus, why Nico Hines is looking to his Queensland Origin rivals for inspiration ahead of NRL season kick-off.
This is 9 News with Peter Overton.
Good evening. There is optimism tonight that Australia is winning the fight against inflation. It's hit a two-year low of 4.1%. Fueling speculation, the Reserve Bank could cut interest rates as early as May.
It's been 2 years of churn at the checkout, but finally some reason to smile.
This is not mission accomplished, but it's really welcome and it's really encouraging progress.
Prices rising 4.1% in the 12 months until December, the lowest rate of inflation in more than 2 years, and the largest drop since the pandemic slowdown. The volatile monthly figure even lower at 3.4%. The economy continuing to slow, but tonight price rises can no longer be blamed on supply chains and households still face unavoidable costs.
We've seen a collapse in living standards and there's no sign of a reversal of that collapse in living standards.
The insurance and financial services sector experienced the largest yearly jump of 8.1%, while housing is up 6.1%, driven by climbing rents. Cigarettes and beer cost more, but clothing and holidays are now cheaper.
Cost of seafood is going down. That's great. But cheaper lobster won't help the millions of people struggling to pay the rent.
Even though growth in rents is very strong, what today's data tells us is that the pace of increase is finally starting to slow.
Falling inflation and rising wages should finally mean relief is on the way for household budgets, but the time frame will vary from house to house. It elevates the fight brewing tonight over tax cuts proposed for everyone in July.
The Coalition Party Room tonight, undecided on whether to back the new rates.
We'll be, I'm sure, going to the Parliament and seeking to hold the government to that promise.
We'll meet, we'll discuss this, and we'll wait and see what Labor actually produces.
Inflation is slowing, real wages is growing, and from the 1st of July we will see tax cuts flowing.
Charles Croucher, 9 News.
Today's inflation data is likely to have a positive impact for borrowers. As Finance Editor Chris Kohler explains, more interest rate rises are unlikely.
Tumbling inflation is good news all round, but let's have a closer look at the winners and losers, starting with the shopping basket. The price of bread has risen nearly 10% over the year, eggs are up about the same, and dairy is also higher, so the pressure is still there. What Australians should be seeing, though, is lower meat prices, with beef down nearly 5% and lamb more like 15% lower. Fruit and veggies are also sitting well below the rate of inflation. Power and gas are up, but the cost of household appliances and furnishings are now dropping fast. While the cost of a beer has jumped, wine has barely moved, so that's the cheaper choice at the pub. As for the big picture, today's inflation number almost certainly means there won't be any more interest rate hikes from the RBA for a while. In fact, cuts are now firmly on the table. The market is now factoring a 50-50 chance of a first cut in May, and 2 cuts are now expected by Christmas, which would be a welcome present.
Chris, thank you. All right, we're going to breaking news now. A woman has been stabbed at Randwick in the eastern suburbs. Nine's Hayley Francis is there for us. Hayley, good evening. Take us through what happened.
Pete, this all unfolded just over an hour ago here at Randwick. A 47-year-old woman attacked and slashed several times with a paint scraper by a man who is believed to be known to this woman. It all unfolded here on Roberts Avenue at Randwick inside a unit block. Now, I've been told that this woman ran outside for help. That is when 3 men witnessed what happened. They chased this alleged offender down to the local grocery store just 200 metres away, and that is where they performed a citizen's arrest until police arrived and took this 25-year-old man into custody. Take a listen to what those witnesses have told us.
3 lads running down here and rugby tackle a man in a white shirt next to the bottle shop there. and they just took him down and had sat with him whilst the police came.
Now, it's understood that woman suffered up to 12 lacerations to her head and upper body. She has serious injuries but is believed to be in a stable condition, now taken to St Vincent's Hospital. As for that 25-year-old man, he has also been taken to hospital but is under police guard. Pete?
Hayley, thank you. The young woman mauled by a bull shark at Elizabeth Bay has thanked the neighbours and paramedics who saved her life. Lauren O'Neill says she only went for a quick dip. The 29-year-old confident she'll make a full recovery.
It had all the makings of an incredible story of survival. Neighbours, paramedics, then doctors in the fight to save shark victim Lauren O'Neill's life. That was 2 nights ago. Today, the final chapter, and it was written by Lauren herself from her hospital bed.
She wishes to thank her heroic and very kind neighbours for the critical assistance they provided her. Lauren is also immensely grateful to the New South Wales Ambulance Paramedics and King's Cross Police for their swift and caring actions at the scene.
And then there was the team of surgeons from St Vincent's who not only saved her life, but her leg.
Her likely full recovery is testament to their extraordinary skills.
It may not have been the perfect beach day today, but at Rose Bay, it wasn't the weather keeping swimmers away.
It was a little bit more scary because no one else was in the water.
Over at Redleaf Pool in Double Bay, the safety of the nets was the preferred option.
Mum was very worried about me swimming, but I think with the nets and everything, I feel kind of safe.
This most recent attack again has people asking the question, should all swimming areas in the harbour be protected by shark nets? But with close to 300 kilometres of foreshore, the Premier says it's just not possible.
We do have to be vigilant in relation to this, but we don't have a program to net off Sydney Harbour.
And as for our latest shark survivor, Lauren O'Neill is expected to be out of hospital in days, not weeks. And who knows, may soon be back on the harbour, which has long been her playground. Damien Ryan, 9 News.
Public schools will receive a multi-billion-dollar funding boost from the federal government, but there is a catch. States will have to match the cash injection and significantly improve outcomes for students and teachers.
Big smiles.
Some suspiciously forced on the return to school. Older students and first-timers targets for a top-up.
It means the Commonwealth government chipping in, and it means the state government chipping in.
For more than a decade, public schools across Australia have been funded below the recommended level. It's unfinished business that dates back 5 Prime Ministers when David Gonski devised the school resource standard for the Gillard government.
So there's a 5% gap. What we're announcing today is that we're fixing that gap.
States offered $3 billion a year extra for public schools, provided they match the federal injection, have catch-up tutoring in reading, writing and maths, improve student well-being and teacher support. The most disadvantaged schools will start receiving extra cash from next year, the rest the following year.
A landmark funding agreement with the federal government.
Western Australia has already signed up. But the other states are so far playing hooky.
We pay most of it, but we need the Commonwealth to step up as well, and we expect that to happen.
Victoria demanding the Commonwealth pay its share as well as its own.
We expect that 5% difference to be funded by the Commonwealth Government as part of these negotiations.
It's really disappointing that we haven't seen the states step up. And of course, we haven't seen Jason Clare put the blowtorch on the states.
That blowtorch might come, given 1 in 3 students aren't where they should be when it comes to reading and writing. Even worse for schools in remote and regional areas. Andrew Probyn, 9 News.
Dashcam has caught the moment a motorbike and car collided in Lidcombe on Saturday. Police say the motorcycle allegedly smashed into a concrete divider on Olympic Drive before being hit by the car. Both drivers were injured and taken to hospital. Israeli forces have disguised themselves as medics and patients to raid a hospital in the West Bank. The operation has aggravated tensions in the Middle East, while US President Joe Biden says he's made a call on how to respond to a deadly drone attack in Jordan.
Israeli commandos in disguise
one draped in a woman's headscarf, others masquerading as medical staff. Rifles drawn, they pace the corridor of a hospital in the West Bank city of Jenin. Israeli officials say the undercover operatives killed 3 militants in hiding. The hospital's medical director said the men were executed while they slept. Experts warn the brazen attack could be a violation of international law. Tonight, Hamas is weighing up a new ceasefire proposal, a two-phase plan that would see 3 Palestinian prisoners released for every civilian hostage over a 6-week period, and the possibility of a longer pause with IDF hostages exchanged. But its viability remains unclear, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejecting one of Hamas's key demands, that his troops be removed from Gaza. US President Joe Biden spoke with the families of the 3 US Army reservists killed during Monday's drone attack in Jordan. America believes it was carried out by Iran-backed militants, and Biden said he was finished weighing up his options.
Yes. I don't think we need a wider war in the Middle East. That's not what I'm looking for.
President Biden's words were careful and cryptic, but the White House says any retaliation to Iran would be multi-pronged, come in stages, and last for a sustained period of time. The US Secretary of State warning that the Middle East has not been as dangerous as this since the Arab-Israeli War in 1973. At the White House, Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
As students return to the classroom this week, the Inner West Mayor is calling on the state government to do more to ease congestion along the Rozelle interchange. Darcy Byrne today announcing he has set up a community oversight panel which will independently scrutinise the government's handling of traffic in the area. The woman who has accused rugby union star Kurtley Beale of rape has denied fabricating the allegations to get sympathy from her partner. The alleged victim became emotional during her 3rd day of evidence, her own relationship coming under the spotlight.
A former Wallaby and a household name, but Kurtley Beale's accuser says she wasn't excited by his fame when she introduced herself at Bondi's Beach Road Hotel. The woman admitting she told the rugby union star she'd saved one of his wedding photos as inspiration for her own nuptials, but she denies describing the married father as looking hot in his suit. Defence barrister Margaret Caneen SC today questioning the complainant about text messages with her fiancé from earlier on the Saturday night in question. She said, "I feel awful, I just want to see you." He wrote back, "Sorry mate, see you Thursday. You're being mean. I have every right to be. If you hate me, what's the point? Yeah, fair. Do you still want to marry me?" To which there was no reply. Beale's accuser playing down the issues in their relationship. "You were desperate to try to turn the tables, weren't you?" "No, to try to manage this situation." "What situation?" "The situation where your relationship is going down the gurgler." "It wasn't going down the gurgler." The pub security cameras show the woman following Beale into the men's bathrooms where she claims she was forced to perform oral sex. The alleged victim outright denying suggestions she made false allegations to get sympathy from her partner. Beale has pleaded not guilty, insisting the woman was a willing participant. Tiffany Genders, 9 News.
There's been a concerning spike in the number of Australians vaping, more than 90,000 people taking it up in just the past 3 months. New figures show a 30% surge in uptake year on year. Our state has had the biggest spike at over 470%, with over 500,000 adults taking up vaping since December 2019. The total number of adult vapers in the country sits at more than 1.7 million. A major milestone for our city's biggest construction project tonight as Western Sydney Airport edges closer to being able to accept flights. The asphalt for the runway has officially all been laid, with workers now preparing to connect the huge network of lights. The window for public submissions on the environmental impact of the airport's flight paths closes tonight. The RSL has slammed the plan to hold a rock concert in the CBD during Anzac Day commemorations at Martin Place. Premier Chris Minns has now pulled the pin, forcing festival organisers to find a new venue.
The city filled with songs of soldiers past. Thousands fill the streets to salute our veterans. The most sacred day on our calendar, and this year it could be competing with this. Blondie. A rock festival organised less than a kilometre away in the Domain, due to start as the post-march commemorative ceremony at the Pool of Remembrance finishes. The RSL wants it shut down and the Premier agrees.
A rock concert in the middle of the CBD on Anzac Day can't go ahead, and we won't allow it to go ahead.
You've got the football up the road. Is that disrespecting the Anzac? East and St George go head-to-head, 40,000 people. So what's the difference between sports entertainment and music entertainment on Anzac Day?
Pandemonium features 13 international artists, including Blondie, Deep Purple and Alice Cooper. The East Coast tour has been in the pipeline for 6 months, and organisers say they can't change the date.
I thought we ticked all the boxes, and I would have hoped that through the support we're giving through Wounded Heroes, and have done so in the past, and through Legacy, that it shows that we're legitimately sincere in our efforts and our thoughts with the returned servicemen.
The organisers are now in talks with the state government, negotiating a relocation, with the concert most likely to be held here at Olympic Park. But the 11th hour overhaul won't come cheap.
Obviously there'll be an enormous financial burden there.
Lesson learned from the New South Wales government. I'm sorry that it's gone this far.
Sophie Upcroft, 9 News.
It is time now to check in on today's weather. Good evening, Amber.
Good evening to you, Pete. It was a partly cloudy day, a few light sprinkles of rain and extremely muggy once again. The beach looking very grey, but it was still beautiful in the water, nudging a very tropical 25 degrees. Another uncomfortable night last night, the city only dipping to 22 degrees, humidity sitting at 80% for most of the night. Today reaching a top of 28 degrees, similar in our west, an overnight low of 22 before warming up to 28 mid-afternoon. There is no relief from the heat just yet, with temperatures and the humidity remaining stubbornly high. I'll be back with a full forecast a little later, Pete.
Amber, thank you. Grown men reduced to tears outside Stanmore's prestigious Newington College.
I'm an old boy of the school, and my son is also an old boy. And the intention was always that I'd have a grandson.
The protests over moves to make the boys' school co-ed. Also, former Pakistan Prime Minister and cricket legend Imran Khan jailed for 10 years. Australia's largest ever cocaine bust is just over 2 tonnes. In Peru, police have just seized 7, where they discovered the haul. And the mission to rescue a woman from inside a garbage truck. How did she get there? Parents have protested outside one of Sydney's most exclusive boys' schools, angry over the decision to turn the college co-ed. One father was even in tears, claiming the plan at Newington will end more than a century of tradition.
The first day back after a long summer break, and students at Newington College are greeted by protesters outside their school grounds. Dozens of parents and former students standing together in a silent demonstration, calling out a decision to turn the boys' school co-ed.
I'm an old boy of the school, and my son is also an old boy. And the intention was always that I'd have a grandson. But I won't bring him to a co-ed school.
I'm just afraid that it's all part of this sort of woke, toxic masculinity type palaver that will pass.
I love the opportunities the school provides, and I would hate to see other boys be stripped of that opportunity.
The call was made in November last year to start enrolling girls from 2026 in year group stages. But the protesters say it's breaking with the school's 160-year-old tradition and that they weren't properly consulted.
Basically, they've been selling the parents a lie for many years.
Since the decision, almost 2,500 people have signed a petition demanding the school revoke it. But many have actually signed it to disagree with the petition. One commenting, "I'm only signing to come here and say what an absolutely wonderful idea this is." From others, to the old boys, time to move on. And finally, the world is co-ed. In a statement, the school said they have every confidence the decision by the council is in the best interests of the future of the college, and that the consultation process in 2022 was very extensive. The decision has been made, but the protesters are not giving up. They'll be holding another meeting tonight where they say they'll be looking at legal options. The school is set to become fully co-ed by 2033. In Stanmore, Massilia Eiley, 9 News.
Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been sentenced to 10 years in jail for exposing official secrets and 14 years in a case related to illegal selling of state gifts. The prison terms are a massive blow to the former cricket star, days out from the country's elections. His party says it will challenge the decision. 7 tonnes of cocaine has been seized by police in Peru, one of the country's largest ever busts. The haul had been disguised in wooden floors and hidden inside 2 shipping containers bound for Belgium. Shooting flames up to 100 metres into the sky, a gas pipeline has exploded in the US state of Oklahoma. The fire was visible from almost 50 kilometres away, with emergency crews kept back until the gas could be turned off. An incredible rescue in the US, a woman saved from inside a garbage truck after she fell into a dumpster and was accidentally picked up. It's believed she was compacted 4 times before the driver saw her on the truck's camera.
She was in agony. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I said, girls, when they lift her up, I was like, don't look.
She told firefighters she was throwing away rubbish when she fell into the bin. In the news ahead, trainee surf lifesavers practising at Bondi Beach called into action as a group of swimmers get caught in a rip. Dicing with death on the M2, carpet rolls spilling at Borkham Hills, the urgent appeal for tradies to secure their loads. It's the giant hole sucking up millions of Ryde ratepayers' dollars, what the council plans to do now. And gap fees surge, how knee and hip replacements are leaving patients with out-of-pocket costs of almost $1,000.
9 News, brought to you by Australia's #1 selling vehicle, Ford Ranger.
A training session for Bondi Lifesavers has turned into the real deal after 4 tourists became caught in a rip last night. The off-duty volunteers were training to use rescue boats and quickly put them to use to save the struggling swimmers. 2 of them are still in hospital. A busy morning too, lifeguards jumping in twice to help swimmers in trouble. Sydney's traffic is returning to its peak as students head back to school and workers to the office. It's prompted an urgent warning for tradies and truck drivers to ensure their cargo is safely secured.
A dangerous manoeuvre on the M2. A tradie crosses 3 lanes of traffic to collect debris that's just fallen off his truck, dragging it back and reloading while cars whip past. On the M2 at Borkham Hills, rolls of carpet fly forward, stopping traffic. The driver dangerously attempts to drag it off the road before response crews pull up. Here, a truck door is flung open, forcing cars to slow down. And this, on the cross-city tunnel, a ladder flies off. The driver doesn't even notice. Debris falling off this truck on the M2 causes cars to stop suddenly. Even worse, watch as the driver reverses into traffic to retrieve it.
Lost loads can be very dangerous. They can lead to accidents, incidents, and they certainly lead to congestion on the network.
The highest number of incidents last year were on the M2, 359 mishaps, the M5 Southwest 338 and the M4 with 332 incidents.
These are high numbers. There's debris at least once a day falling off of vehicles.
The M5 East, 221 incidents, the M8 with 155, North Connects 127 and the Eastern Distributor 102.
Don't stop in the middle of the motorway and certainly don't get out of your vehicle. We have control rooms that monitor these roads 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we'll dispatch an incident response crew. They'll be out to you within minutes.
Transurban data shows tradies are among the most regular commuters, using Sydney roads 4.3 times a week on average. And as the traffic builds this week, the message is to secure your load, no matter how small.
The bulk of tradies and construction vehicles all do the right thing.
You won't get away with it. You are likely to be fined, but that's because there's a big risk here. Others might be hurt.
Zara James, 9 News.
There's been a concerning rise in out-of-pocket costs in the private health system, with procedures jumping by as much as 300% in 5 years. Hospital fees for heart angiogram procedures and gastroscopies have surged from $50 to $200 since 2017-18. Gap fees for hip and knee replacements have risen by 35%, costing up to $905. 60% of all elective surgeries occur in the private sector. A financial failure by the City of Ryde has left a multi-million-dollar hole in the ground and a community without adequate facilities. Now there are fresh concerns over a band-aid solution. The council voting to fill the hole in.
It was the pride of Ryde, now a hole causing headaches and costing ratepayers $20 million.
This has been just a money pit.
This prized piece of public land was where Ryde's Civic Centre once stood, demolished in 2021 to make way for the new Heart of Ryde, increasing the community's facilities fourfold. But the initial budget relied on an illegal transfer of funds from council's reserves, leaving a $113 million funding shortfall. Now in limbo, the council's latest solution is to fill the hole in.
We can't leave that hole there, attracting mosquitoes. It's been 2 years there is a hole there.
But not all agree.
We should not be putting a band-aid on it. We should not be filling it in, putting our heads in the sand.
That's disappointing. It's a shame that they weren't able to sort it out from the start.
I'd like to see what was supposed to go there happen, because it was going to be brilliant for the Ryde community.
It could be up to a decade until another civic centre is built on this land. There is right now $7 million in the budget for the project, money which is now likely to be used on filling in the hole.
And then after that, you have to re-excavate the hole to realise what we should be doing right now, not in 5 to 10 years' time.
Right now, councillors meet in a shopping centre office, and come September, Ryde residents will vote on who they want to see lead.
This issue will be one of the key issues in the race for that popularly elected mayor.
But with the pit to be plugged in the next 6 months, ratepayers' money may already be in the ground. In Ryde, Madison Scott, 9 News.
For more than 3 decades, researchers and experts have been unable to significantly improve the survival rate of children with brain tumours. But tonight, thanks to new technology used to fight COVID-19, that could be about to change.
This is Connor Dawes. In 2013, at just 18 years old, he died as a result of an ependymoma brain tumour.
He had surgery, he had radiation, he had chemotherapy.
His mum, Liz, launching a charity to help improve the odds for other children battling the deadly disease. 10 years on, the Robert Connor Dawes Foundation is partnering with the University of Queensland, committing $1.2 million to developing a brain cancer vaccine.
And today feels like one of those important days where there's hope.
Brain cancer remains the deadliest of all paediatric cancers.
The survivors of brain cancer often are left with long-term debilitating effects of the treatment itself.
Pre-pandemic, major pharmaceutical companies had begun looking into vaccines as a possible treatment. COVID-19 prompting a sudden spike in investment into messenger RNA research, the same technology behind the Moderna and Pfizer jabs.
And then when COVID along, they completely changed course to help us with COVID, and now they're getting back to business with cancer.
Researchers say while the technology to create an effective RNA vaccine already exists, the challenge now is understanding how to use it to fight something as complex as a brain tumour, as opposed to a virus like COVID-19.
Virus is very easily recognized by the immune system. However, cancer is part of us. Is growing from us.
By using this technology, a child's immune system could be trained to recognise a tumour, creating an army of fighter cells which destroy the disease.
This is just the right time to try this.
It's hoped a full-scale clinical trial will begin by the end of next year. Olivana Lathouris, 9 News.
Energy, internet and mobile bills in one place. It's convenient, but are bundling deals all they're cracked up to be? We crunch the numbers. Bruce from Bowral has been a pharmacist for 7 decades. Now the 91-year-old has written his last prescription, what he plans to do in retirement. James, Nico Hines is looking to some rivals for help ahead of the new season.
Yes, good evening, Pete. Nico's State of Origin debut wasn't one to remember, but that hasn't stopped him from seeking advice from some of Queensland's best. Our one-on-one with the Shark star is next. Why change of format could bring a change of fortune for the out-of-form Marnus Labuschagne. Plus, the Aussie sailor on top of the world charging towards even more Olympic gold.
And when will we see some relief from this warm and very muggy weather? I'll have your full forecast shortly.
There's no fiercer rivalry in rugby league than State of Origin, but New South Welshman Nico Hines is looking to Queensland for help and inspiration. Hines revealing he's picked the brains of the Maroons' best to get him firing for the Sharks ahead of the season kickoff.
He's one of the biggest names in the game, and Nico Hines is ready to make an even bigger impact this season.
Physically feeling probably the best I've felt in a long time. Maybe that break after the Aussie tour gave me a little bit of rest, and especially in the mind as well, and come back in the new year ready to go, and yeah, feeling fit, feeling strong.
Despite Cronulla being eliminated without winning a finals game for the second year in a row, Hines has found positives from 2023.
We finished the year really, really well with the Sharks. Those last 6 weeks, Tricky and I combined, obviously the final game didn't go the way we planned to, but I felt like we built something there. Like, there was a 3-week period where we were in a bit of a rut, but we fought our way out of it, and there's another year, another pre-season together, and combinations building.
Nico is confident his individual game will also hit another level, thanks to some influence from across the border. The halfback learning from his time in Kangaroos camp, especially from the Queenslanders in the squad.
Just been around daily, I picked his brain hell of a lot, and Benny Hunt, been around Munster again, and all those great players.
Even though they're Origin rivals, Hines uses the Maroons as inspiration.
Obviously don't get to do much with the Queenslanders, but seeing the way some of their players prepare as well, and just been around the best, and I love footy, and I'm a footy nerd, so I picked all their brains and just had a lot of fun with them.
Danica Mason, 9 News.
Bulldogs recruit Drew Hutchison has compared the feeling around Belmore to what he experienced at the Roosters. Adamant the club is doing everything right at training, despite concerns around workload last season.
You're hearing those rumours and those whispers last year. I mean, it couldn't be further from the truth when you sort of come here and you experience how hard the boys do train. And some blokes, when they get pulled out of drills, it's almost a fight out there.
A utility at the Tricolours, Hutchison says he's desperate to become the Dogs' new halfback, competing with Toby Sexton for the role. Steve Smith says a change of format is exactly what Marnus Labuschagne needs to blast out of his batting slump. Australia faces the West Indies in the opening one-dayer on Friday, determined to hit back after losing the last test.
A new kit, some new players and a new feeling in the Australian cricket team.
It's good to have some fresh faces around. It's been a busy summer. Some of the boys are quite tired, so it's nice to have some new energy.
Lightning fast bowler Lance Morris is among the potential debutants this series, but the Aussie middle order will be much more familiar. Steve Smith will bat at 4, Marnus Labuschagne 5. Smith confident Labuschagne will recapture his best after struggling during the tests.
He's definitely a thinker, sometimes maybe an overthinker, which I've said to him as well. But it's about sort of going to the basics and trusting yourself. I've no doubt there's a big score around the corner, and they have to think back to his last one-day game was the World Cup final where he batted beautifully. So he'll take a lot of confidence out of that.
Smith took plenty of confidence from his last innings. 91 not out, proving he can cope as a test opener.
There was a lot of commentary around I'd failed in 2 or 3 innings or whatever it was. I had a not out and 2 low scores, and now I think I'm averaging 60 as an opener.
Smith's knock wasn't quite enough to get Australia the win. Shamar Joseph's heroics to take 7 wickets with an injured toe, earning the Aussies respect.
We were 7 down just before lunch, and I overheard him speaking to Craig, and Craig asked how he's going. He's like, "I'm bowling to the end, man." I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty impressive.
Luke Dovesey, 9 News.
Let's go live to Melbourne now, where Alicia Muling is on the blue carpet for the Australian Cricket Awards night. And Alicia, there's a surprise favourite for the men's big prize.
Yeah, that's right, Brace. Few names have divided Australian cricket, quite like Mitch Marsh, but tonight he looms as taking home his very first Allan Border medal in what will be quite an incredible comeback for the West Australian after a career-defining 6 months of cricket. Standing in his way, of course, a bloke by the name of Pat Cummins, who's also had an equally brilliant year. As for our women vying for the Belinda Clark Award, it will be a very tight race here tonight. Names like Beth Mooney, Elise Perry and Ash Gardner all with a chance. So a great night ahead here in Melbourne. I don't expect a few players to be partying too hard tonight. A lot of our one-day international players have cricket to play, would you believe, over the next few days, Brace?
I certainly do. You make sure you enjoy it. Alicia, thank you. Well, Australia's women have taken the lead in their multi-format series against South Africa, winning the final T20 in Hobart. Beth Mooney smashing 82 from 55 balls as the Aussies chased down the Proteas' score of 162 with 5 wickets and 4 balls to spare. There are 3 one-days and a test match still left to play. The Socceroos will face South Korea in the Asian Cup quarterfinals on Saturday morning. The Koreans defeating Saudi Arabia in dramatic fashion, scoring an equaliser in the 99th minute before winning a penalty shootout 4-2. And great signs on the road to Paris for Aussie sailor Matt Wern, winning the Laser World Championship in Adelaide this afternoon. It caps an incredible 12 months after recovering from long COVID. He's now won 2 world crowns ahead of his Olympic title defence in July.
It's surreal. It's great. To win a world championship in itself is incredible, but to do it back to back and in the Olympic year as well, and have to do it quite close together too, makes it feel even more special.
Wern is yet to officially book his place for the Games, but after this result looks a sure thing. And Pete, that opening ceremony, July 26, can't come quick enough.
Good on you. Thank you, James. The Australian share market has hit a new record high. Plus, stranded at sea in a kayak, the grateful men rescued by a cruise ship. Bundle your bills and save, but are the deals too good to be true? And the Australian mum's deal with Sesame Street that will see her homemade toys go global. Essential workers in Sydney are being targeted in a new ad campaign, encouraging a tree change in a bid to boost numbers in regional New South Wales. The state government's Make the Move campaign, highlighting the lifestyle benefits of regional living to first responders, healthcare workers and teachers. Researchers think they might be able to clone some of Australia's most vulnerable species, thanks to a new piece of tech at the Melbourne Museum. This biobank, the largest in the country, will freeze live cells from wildlife with the plan to preserve endangered species and help reproduction in the future. Researchers already have cells from 14 species, with plans for 100 in the next 3 years. This cruise ship would have been a sight for sore eyes for 2 men found drifting in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico in a kayak after their boat sank. The cruise staff pulled them aboard, giving them first aid and food before passing them over to the Navy. Well, bundling all your bills with the one provider has always been convenient, but now it's becoming more affordable. The big companies even offering perks to help sweeten the deal.
The simplicity of everything on one bill, and there are even some freebies thrown in.
I've never seen so many bundled discounts available at the same time.
The big energy providers are now offering free streaming subscriptions to hook you into their bundle deals. Combine energy, NBN and mobile at AGL and you'll get a year's worth of complimentary Netflix. Over at Origin, new customers get 12 months access to Paramount Plus and up to 15,000 Woolworths Everyday Rewards points for combining electricity with internet. Both providers say customers can save hundreds by bundling, at least initially.
There are certainly some bundling options out there that become worse deals over time.
Money expert Joel Gibson has crunched the numbers, and both Origin and AGL's deals are still slightly more expensive compared to doing the work yourself, mixing and matching providers.
But that's a much smaller gap than it has been in the past. So the big business bundles are getting closer in price. I think one of the big attractions for bundling is the idea of simplicity.
Keep it simple, sure, but not stupid. Make no mistake, bundling is good business for these providers. It creates what they call sticky customers, meaning we are far less likely to change things up and move around, even if there are better deals to be had elsewhere.
Whatever they can throw into the bag, they will, because it'll make you a more loyal rusted-on customer.
At the very least, every year, check in to see if you are getting the best deal for all your essential services.
Reid Butler, 9 News.
A judge in the US state of Delaware has annulled an $84 billion pay deal given to Elon Musk by car company Tesla in 2018. The lawsuit was filed by a shareholder who argued it was an overpayment. The pay deal had been the biggest ever in corporate history. Well, positive news on the economy has spurred the share market to a new record high. Here's Chris Kohler.
No shortage of good news in the finance space today. A big fall in inflation is marking a turning point for the economy, and the share market managed to hit a new all-time high within 2 hours of the official data being released. This shows the journey since the GFC lows 15 years ago, and with the exception of the COVID crash, it's been a pretty steady march to these new levels above 7,600 points. And if you zoom in, you see another way this is a big moment. The ASX had basically been trading sideways for almost a year and a half, but it's finally broken through its ceiling. Today was the best day we've seen in a month, and CBA shares have never been so high. CSL is back above $300 a share, and both ANZ and NAB are also topping one-year highs. So it's green wherever you look, except for the Aussie dollar, which slipped on expectations that interest rates will start falling this year. It was back below 66 US cents and 61 euro cents.
Thank you, Chris. Let's look at the price of unleaded petrol across Sydney tonight. The average is sitting at $1.97.5 a litre. You can find it cheaper on Davies Road in Padstow or Elizabeth Drive, Mount Pritchard. A Gold Coast mother has struck a lucrative deal with iconic kids' TV shows Sesame Street. That will launch her homemade toys onto the world stage. Jacqueline Yates woke to a surprise email from Sesame Street executives in New York offering the opportunity of a lifetime.
When I got it, I was just, yes, that's just a real moment. I thought it was maybe like a spam account or something. It's just really a dream come true, like such an incredible brand to partner with.
The range will include floor puzzles, weighted toys and posters. One of Australia's oldest pharmacists has filled out his last prescription, hanging up the white coat after an impressive 73 years. 91-year-old Bruce Duggan this week working his last day at the local Bowral pharmacy in the Southern Highlands. Customers, family and bagpipes sending him off in style. Isn't that wonderful? After 7 decades of full-time work, the pharmacist plans to retire to an 80-hectare farm. That'll keep him busy. Coming up, Amber with the weather.
Thanks, Pete. There's a possible chance of a shower tonight, and thankfully it will be a little cooler than last night. Right now outside it's 24 degrees in the city, 25 in our west. I'll have your full forecast next. It was a warm and muggy day with partly cloudy skies and a few sprinkles of rain, reaching 28 degrees in the city, Penrith and Richmond, the humidity hovering around 80 to 90%, 27 the top in Campbelltown, Liverpool, Blacktown and Kellyville. We saw a little bit of rain, but it was generally less than a millimetre, with the exception of Richmond picking up a heavier 7 millimetres. If it feels like our nights are getting hotter, Sydney's average nighttime temperature has actually increased by 1.3 degrees, now sitting at 20.5. Our west recording a similar increase of 2.3 degrees compared to 50 years ago. The intensity of our extremes is also changing. The city's hottest night of the month has risen by over a degree, while the west is up by over 2 degrees. Across New South Wales today, it was another hot day across inland areas. Storms moving through around Bathurst, Mudgee and Dubbo. The north coast saw tops of 27 to 30 degrees, while the south coast was actually quite cool, only reaching 21 to 23 degrees. Let's take a look at tomorrow, and troughs and a low will generate a few showers and storms over northern parts of Queensland, the Northern Territory and WA. Brisbane heading for a partly cloudy day, 31 degrees. Even warmer in Canberra, a fine 32, 25 the top in Melbourne. It will be sunny across inland Inland New South Wales tomorrow, temperatures soaring in the mid-30s to low 40s. The coast will be a little cooler, heading for tops of 27 to 31 degrees with a possible shower around the Hunter. Sydney will be mostly cloudy tomorrow with southerly winds turning northeasterly in the late afternoon, heading for a top of 26 degrees in Terry Hills, 28 for the city, 30 in Parramatta, Liverpool and Campbelltown, a warmer 31 on the way for Blacktown, Penrith and Richmond. Let's take a look ahead and a possible light shower on Friday, 28 degrees, cloudy conditions on Saturday with a top of 27, hot and mostly sunny on Sunday, 32 degrees, heating up even further on Monday, 35, while nights will stay stubbornly warm, ranging from 20 to 25 degrees. In our west, a shower or two on Friday and Saturday, reaching a scorching 39 degrees on Sunday under sunny skies before a late storm, 37 on Monday, while those nights will range from 18 to 25 degrees, Pete.
I'm looking forward to winter. Thank you, Amber. Ali is next with a current affair. That is 9 News for this Wednesday. I'm Peter Overton. I hope you have a good evening. From all of us, good night.